Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Dillian Whyte has spent much of this year chasing WBC champion Deontay Wilder for a fight, calling him out at every turn, regularly harassing him on social media, even saying the Bronze Bomber is a fake champion who is missing in action. These words have been followed up with actual offers, so $3 million plus US TV money according to Eddie Hearn, who estimates that would be a purse of somewhere over $4 million, possibly 4.5. So not insignificant and more than double Wilder's biggest payday. Wilder, meanwhile, he has been looking for bigger and better fights after knocking out Gerald Washington in February, saying he only wants to fight the best and he feels strongly that Whyte isn't that. He's also stated publicly he won't get full credit for beating Whyte, and I agree with him on that to a point. So the position of both fighters, it's been crystal clear, right? But now we have Eddie Hearn wading in again, talking about a possible Wilder-Whyte fight for early 2018, February actually. And we also have Lou DiBella in response, Wilder's promoter, doubling down on that fight not happening, and that Dillian Whyte is irrelevant. Let's get to the actual statements and then a few thoughts. So, speaking to IFL TV, link in the description, Hearn says he wants to see Dillian Whyte fight Wilder, saying, "The winner of the fight will get AJ. No problem, but I want to see Dillian Whyte fight Wilder. It's not a case of, why don't you give Wilder Joshua? We will give him in the summer." Later on, he then said, "We want to do this fight. If he believes he's the baddest man on the planet, or the most feared man on the planet, or the best heavyweight on the planet, mate, you'll beat Dillian Whyte easy. Don't worry about it. But by the way, if you do beat Dillian Whyte, the AJ fight becomes huge." He also added Wilder has no profile, saying, "Look at Deontay Wilder, great fighter, looks great, sharp dresser, got all the gift of the gab, and he's the world heavyweight champion from America. He's not a major name in sport in America. I'm sorry, that's the truth." So Hearn is looking at February 3rd for a Wilder-Whyte fight. And if not, he says he will try get Whyte into the mandatory position to fight Wilder. And as we know, Dillian Whyte is quite high up in the rankings, number 3, I believe. So in response, Lou DiBella has told Sky Sports, see the link in the description, the concept that we would somehow feel obligated or the necessity to fight Dillian Whyte for a chance to fight Anthony Joshua is a joke. It's nothing against Dillian Whyte personally, but I have no need to discuss Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is irrelevant to the future of Deontay Wilder. I think AJ is a great young fighter, but I think the greatest danger to AJ in the world is Deontay Wilder. I think the fight will eventually happen. DiBella also added they would love to fight a Joseph Parker at any point, any place. They can put it in a soccer stadium in New Zealand and Deontay will still knock him out. We're not running from that fight. We're not running from any fight. There's certainly a bit going on here. And if we try to take some of the emotion out of the should Whyte fight Wilder argument, because there's a lot of emotion wrapped up in this, and I see it all the time in the comment section and on other channels. So if you try to take the emotion out of it, what I believe we have here essentially is a situation where Hearn is trying to make money off his fighters through maneuvering. And plain and simple, that's what I really feel it is. So he's essentially saying, as option 1, Wilder fights Whyte now, collects a career-high payday, builds his profile in the UK, and then Anthony Joshua is the prize that awaits. It's a pretty simple equation. So when Hearn says Wilder is a champ without a massive profile, I don't think he's saying it to be nasty. I think he's saying it because he believes that to be true. And I think there is some truth in that. If the Wilder-Ortiz fight had have gone ahead and Wilder won that, well, there probably would have been enough buzz and enough marketability to go straight into the Joshua fight in February. And even Hearn was talking a couple of months ago, or even several weeks ago, that the winner of the Wilder-Ortiz fight would face Joshua next. But with Ortiz out and Stiverne in, we have a fight no one cares about. A fight that does nothing for Wilder's profile and career except extending the win column by one. So Hearn's statements about beat Whyte in an AJ fight is huge. That's what it really boils down to. Hearn effectively needs to be able to sell Wilder to the masses in an AJ fight. Clearly he doesn't believe Wilder's current record, opposition and profile cut it. Let's face it, it gives Hearn another chance as well if he can make a Whyte fight with Wilder, some chance to make money off Whyte. Hearn has been investing in him over a period of time, to some degree. I mean, some of this you can kind of argue that he has sort of been a bit forgotten at times, and maybe Hearn hasn't done as well at securing fights, and we're hearing a lot of talk that Hearn has been lowballing people to fight Whyte. But if he can get a Wilder-Whyte fight, that's a decent payoff in dollar terms for Hearn. And no doubt everyone else involved gets a nice cut of the pie too. And plus consider, if Whyte actually won that fight, because it would be a dangerous fight, I'd favour Deontay Wilder, it makes the AJ rematch massive for Whyte. But like I say, I would favour Wilder. But either way, it's an entree of a fight that the public want, and it warms Wilder up to the public. And in response to some of this talk about, well, Joshua and Wilder should just fight, I often get comments saying, well, Wilder is already the champ. He deserves respect. He deserves the right to face AJ next. And, you know, some part of me thinks, well, there is something in that. But when you look at it, they don't owe Wilder anything. Not a jot. They don't owe any fighter a thing. They're building Joshua's legacy in line with his bank balance. Joshua's got a well-stated goal of being a billionaire. They've got to be smart if they want to get anywhere near that. Plus, Hearn wants to feather his own nest financially. This is a business after all. So Hearn is planning things carefully to maximize revenue. I mean, let's not be naive about this. This is what it comes down to. It's that simple. Hearn sets them up, AJ knocks them down, and it builds the hype, and the hype train keeps going, and the money keeps rolling in. It's a business. So option 2 though, Hearn is positioning Whyte slowly closer to the WBC mandatory position. If Wilder won't fight Whyte voluntarily, well, they'll try go the traditional route. Although there's more risk involved in this clearly, because Whyte's actually got to do some fighting, get a couple of good names on his record to get in position. And Robert Helenius is that next step. And that is no gimme fight at all. I know a lot of people have been sort of talking down Robert Helenius in recent days. I mean, I would favour Whyte in that fight, but Robert Helenius hits hard, and he's got a pretty decent record. So it wouldn't surprise me if he upset Whyte, but I do expect Whyte should come through this. And I do know that Dominic Breazeale thinks he will be getting the mandatory spot if he beats Eric Molina. I'm not so sure that happens. I mean, that's only coming from Breazeale, not the WBC. Whyte is higher ranked than Breazeale in the rankings, and a Helenius win is certainly better than a Molina win. Then again though, Molina is ranked at 12, I think, so that will carry some weight. In an ideal world, you'd have a Whyte and Breazeale eliminator, a final eliminator to see who the mandatory would be. And that would be a great fight. But then again, the WBC is a bit of a law unto itself, and it could very well just place one of those guys as the mandatory without an limiter, a la Berman Stiverne, who got to the #1 position after having one fight in 2 years. And Hearn obviously believes in Whyte to some degree. It's not just that he's setting some bum up to try to get to Deontay Wilder. He must believe in him to some degree, as he wouldn't be pushing for the Wilder fight so hard, either route. But the message is clear from Hearn to Team Wilder. Fight us next for a career-high payday, or we'll come after you through the mandatory position anyway. It's your choice. So it does surprise me somewhat that Lou DiBella is so dismissive of Whyte. A Whyte fight is at least on par with the best name on Wilder's record, Berman Stiverne. It's probably better than many, if not all, of Wilder's voluntary defences: Spilker, Duhaupas, Molina, Areola and Washington. So, that's debatable, but, you can kind of make your call as the fan if you think Whyte could beat those guys. I personally think he could beat most, if not all. For me, Wilder's perception problem with fans, because he does have one. So fans are unwilling, some fans, not all, he's got some fanboys, but a lot of fans are unwilling to acknowledge Wilder as elite because of his opposition. And we just read out those names. They are not the elite among the division. Even when they were selected, they were in the rankings, but they were not considered the best. So some of that comes back down to matchmaking. And DiBella needs to take some responsibility for this. And sure, there has been the bad luck of Povetkin and Ortiz fights falling over for the performance-related drugs issues and all the whatever it was with those situations. It's all a bit murky. Those were fights we wanted to see. We didn't get them. But it doesn't change the fact there were 5 other chances, 5 other fights that he had, and they went with overmatched opponents. DiBella is right about the fight will eventually happen with Joshua. But it's increasingly clear to me Hearn is holding all the cards. Joshua is the big draw. He's the A side. He would generate the lion's share of the revenue. Hearn said recently Wilder's commercial value in comparison to Joshua's is the size of a peanut. It's true and hilarious at the same time. If the two actually fought, I do think that Wilder would have a great chance if he landed flush. But will he get that chance? Is it fair that one champ won't fight another until he gets through his stablemate? Of course it's not. But this is boxing. When has it ever been about fairness? It's always been about money. It's a business after all. And that's how Hearn is approaching it. Well, that's how I see him approaching it. He's trying to maximize revenue. Hence, once more, for anyone that wanted to listen, he has, through IFL TV, outlined publicly for Wilder and Team Wilder that if they want AJ, Whyte in February needs to happen. That Whyte fight in February needs to happen. And sure, Lou DiBella can say it's joke, but Hearn's the one telling all the jokes right now, and he has all the leverage. They don't need to make a Wilder-AJ fight. Deontay Wilder needs that fight much more than Anthony Joshua. Joshua's already got a signature name on his record. He's got 2 belts, and he's been fighting relatively decent opposition for where he was coming from. He hasn't held the belt for 3 years and fought no one, because that's where Deontay Wilder is. He hasn't fought the best opposition so far. I would have thought from a business perspective and legacy-wise, swallowing this apparent indignity of having to fight Whyte to get to Joshua is a small price to pay. As KiwiBox said, it's the hoop that Wilder needs to jump through. Isn't the end goal worth the journey, however uncomfortable that journey might be? I would have thought so. But who else is he actually going to fight? If it's not Joseph Parker, who's off doing other things, if it's not Anthony Joshua, who's he going to fight next? Who's he going to fight next? I don't think the public will allow another pedestrian fight. If he ends up fighting someone like a Dominic Breazeale, it's a good fight, but he also will not get full credit for that fight either. I believe that's at the same level as a Dillian Whyte. Why won't he just fight Whyte to get to Joshua? It makes a lot of sense. That's it from me. Just my thoughts. Drop a comment, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. That's boxing_squared. I'm out.